Oh, hey, welcome to High Pressure Hose Safety, what every operator needs to know. And you might be wondering why I have best car gloves on and a best car helmet, because this is what I wear when I clean pipe. Just kidding, no, I don't wear this, but I just use it to for the fact that you need to protect yourself when you're out there cleaning using this high pressure hose. So I'm gonna tell you how to protect yourself today. If you can't afford best car, it's kind of expensive and probably hard to find. Okay, let me get my doggle bunger thing out here so we can get going. And before we get going, I want to thank you for what you do. I know a lot of you guys from the California area. I might know you. I know a few names in there. I see Hector out there. Hey, Hector. Um, so thank you for coming today, and thank you for doing what you do. What you do is a nasty job, okay? I've been doing it since I was 13 years old, second generation. You go out there every day, you put the nozzle in the line, you blow human waste all over you, go home smelling like a walking doo-doo. It's not a fun job, and no one probably, when you were little, wanted to be a sewer cleaner, did you? I did anyway, but you wound up in this industry one way or the other. So I appreciate you for what you do, and I thank you for what you do. And my goal in life now is to keep you safe and help you be as productive as you can while you're doing what you do. And by the way, I call you dung beetles now. I got tired of turd herders. So you're officially a dung beetle now. So you'll know what I'm talking about when I talk about dung beetles. Okay, and welcome to Dung Beetle Studios. This is where we make the magic happen. Okay, let's get going. A little bit about me. I've been in the industry a long, long time. I've developed multiple training programs. I hold 4 or 5 U.S. patents, and I love the dung beetles. I love the people who clean these sewer pipes. Now, this is what I wanted my koozie to look like. I told them to make a koozie. I want it to look like Jack Reacher. Well, that's not what they came up with. This is what they came up with. That's my koozie. So if you come to the show in Vegas, hopefully I'll be in Vegas. I wasn't invited to speak at the CWEA show this year, so hopefully I'll be in Vegas, and then I'll give you some koozies. I'll bring some koozies for you. Disclaimer: you're going to see some graphic stuff in here. It's kind of nasty, but I need you to see what happens when the hoses explode and people are injured. I need you to see what that looks like, so you'll have an idea to help keep you in thoughts in your head that you need to protect yourself when you're using this high pressure hose. Okay, so what you're going to learn today is about the combined forces of over 1 million pounds in the system, in the high pressure water system, over 1 million pounds. We're going to talk about a damaged hose, using damaged hose. We're going to talk about the safe use of high pressure hose and an overview of proper hose splicing. I know some of you don't do your own hose splicing, but if you do, you need to hear what I'm going to say today. So let's start off with the nozzle. That attaches to the end of the hose. This is what goes on the end of the hose. So a nozzle is just a device that changes a constant flow of water, 80 gallons a minute, into a nozzle, and the nozzle is a platform that turns it into high velocity, where it comes out really, really fast, okay? And the reason being because it goes in through this big hole, and it comes out through a bunch of little holes. So this is about 1 inch, and this hole over here is about a 1/4 inch. So the area is being squeezed down, so the water's got to come out faster. Okay, that's what makes it high velocity. So the water going into a nozzle goes in at 22 miles an hour. When it comes out of this nozzle, it's going to be traveling at 350 miles an hour. These nozzles are deadly. People have been killed with these things and maimed and injured. Okay, I'm going to show you a little graphic picture. Put your hand over your eye if you don't want to see it. Oh, not yet. That's the next one. So sewer worker killed by a nozzle. In 1999, a gentleman was out there cleaning line, and his nozzle turned and came back on him. And I realized what happened. I've seen this here just recently. We were cleaning the line. The nozzle came into a dead end manhole. It came up the pipe, and I'm screaming. Came up the manhole. It flipped over and it went back down the hole. And now it's going back toward the operator. And that's how this person was injured. When it came out of the manhole, which they always do when they travel back to you, they're going to turn. They're going to come right up out of the manhole. Bam! Hit him right in the head. And this was a picture. This is not the guy that was killed. This gentleman sent me this picture last month, a couple of months ago. The nozzle only traveled 4 feet, 4 foot out of the manhole before it hit him in the head. Multiple stitches and fractured his skull. I got tons of these. People send me stuff all the time. So this is an epidemic. So let's look about where we get our constant flow of water from. We get our constant flow of water from the single piston double action pump, back and forth. And you can see right here on the top of here, here's an accumulator. That's the accumulator supposed to absorb the shock. If yours is getting a bunch of jumping motion in it and your accumulator's open, then your accumulator needs to be charged. Then we have the triplex pump here. This thing's traveling at about 25 strokes a minute, I believe. This is traveling about 1,300 RPMs. This baby's humming. The little pistons are going to get you your 80 gallons a minute. So this is where you get your constant flow of water from. is from the pump, okay? So a unit running like 600 feet of hose at 2,000 PSI can contain 1.2 million pounds of force, okay? You go, what? My truck only runs 2,000 PSI, Rusty. Yeah, but it's 2,000 PSI, pounds per square inch. If you add up all the square inches in the sewer hose and the truck, all the piping in the truck, you'll come up with about 1.2 million pounds of combined force. When a hose or a splice fails, depending on where it fails at, that's going to tell you how serious the injury is going to be. Because it could come apart in the line, it could have come apart inside of the hose reel. But if it comes apart in that 5-foot area between the ground and the top of that hose reel and you're exposed to it, that's where the injuries take place. This is what it looks like. Now, I got this off the internet. This has never been filmed before. Someone just happened to catch this. This is a great video. I'm still trying to get in touch with the guy that got hit. So let's take a look and see what that looks like when 1.2 million pounds of force comes out of the hose, the initial force, the initial release of it. This is what it looks like. Bam, bam, bam. Now, that'd be a great way to start the job off in the morning, wouldn't it? You probably wind up going to the hospital. All right, 1.2 million pounds of force. Now, this was a gentleman I did some training with down in Florida, and he gave me these pictures. And after he saw all of our training programs, our Sewer 102, which is about one of our modules is hose splicing, he came to me and he said, let me give you my pictures. He said the hose splice came apart as it was coming out of the manhole. He said, and when it came apart, it hit me in the leg. And this is what it did to my leg. Now, the reason he's all stitched up like that is because they had to rebuild his structure of his leg. If you see here this bone, it's shattered this bone. All that had to be put back together, and they got steel plates in there and got him all screwed back together nice and tight. He's back up and he's functional now. But that was 1.2 million pounds of force coming out of that fitting when it came apart. Now, let's prevent hose splice failures. You know, if you're going to do that, you need to use the proper tools and use the proper procedures if you're making your own splices. Okay, if you go online, there are manuals on how to make proper splices. So what the hose we're going to be talking about today is Piranha hose. That's my favorite hose. As I've traveled the country, I believe it's probably the safest hose on the market in my opinion. Now, warning, this is in the manual. Failure to read our instructions covering hydraulic swedge machine repair manual for usage. Failure to do so could result in injury or death. Okay, no one's read that probably out there. Anybody read that out there? Tap me in the chat box. We got a chat box somewhere? Okay, so read the manual before you make hose splices. Now, this is a gentleman, Michael Jericho. I met him up in Pennsylvania, and I did some training up there. I'm gonna let him tell his story. Okay, what happened whenever his hose exploded. Here we go.
Hey guys, my name is Michael Jericho. I'm an employee of the Pittsburgh Water Department. Been here 29 years. About 20 years ago, I was operating a Vactor. And as I was retrieving the line, the hose split and I got blasted in my right eye with about 2,500 PSIs, permanently blinded me. So ever since that day, I've been blind. So you just gotta be careful out there. That's all I can say about that.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Okay, so for 20 years, he's been blind in one eye because the hose blew up in his face. Okay. Now, the hose was probably damaged. I mean, it could have been old. I don't know the whole story behind it. But he'd only been working there about a year before, I think, before he lost his eye. And he's been on light duty since. So to keep these splices from failing, they came up with a color coding system years ago because a gentleman put the wrong splice on the wrong hose. It came apart, hit him in the sternum, filled his lungs full of water, and he drowned, standing right by his truck. So they came up with this color coding system to make sure that you use the right tools to make the splice. Okay, and we're going to be talking about the yellow one today, the Piranha. Okay, and that's on the inside of the hose. The inside of the hose tells you whose hose it is. The outside just tells you the pressure rating. So if you have a blue hose, then this is 3,000 psi. If you have a orange hose, that's 2,500 psi, and that's typically what you'll find on these trucks. Now, the outside won't tell you who the manufacturer is, only the inside tells you that. Now, the reason for that is because the inside diameter and the outside diameter of these hoses can vary in size. So if you put the wrong splice on the wrong hose, like this one's marked black, so I wouldn't use this black one on the yellow hose because it's not designed for that. So here's the Piranha setup right here. You have the half moon swedges. You'll need a couple of these if you're making a middle splice. Then you'll need this for an end splice. And then here's the swedging machine that I recommend. This thing works great. It comes with all the fittings. Then you can put on a male end, or you can put on a middle hose mender, or you can put on a female, and if you want to. Now, if you're having a third party make it up, this might be what you look like when it's all said and done. So you got this big thing here where you got it all screwed together, or if you make your own, you can pick a nice smooth swedge. This is going to pull your tiger tail out every time you come through the tiger tail. It's going to want to jerk it out of there. So here's our 2,500 psi and our 3,000 psi. Now, if you have this set up, I'm going to try and talk you into going to the 3,000 psi hose because it's safer, because it has an extra layer of insulation than what the 2,500 has. Okay, and I'm going to show you some pictures that might convince you as well. Now, you're going to say, well, I got orange hose, orange Piranha. If I get the blue Piranha, I got to change all my fittings up. No, the Piranha, just the Piranha. I'm only talking Piranha. Piranha 2,500 and 3,000 use the same splices and swedges. It's all the same tooling if you happen to go to the 3,000 psi, okay? And we actually made one up to make sure it worked. There you go. Actually, a city made this up, and they used the orange hose for the leader hose instead of the rubber hose because they're having a lot of issues with rubber hose. So they cut 15 foot of this and spliced it in there and took that big knuckle out of there. Worked out great for them. Now, if you get ready to cut this hose, you got to have the right tool, okay? You want to cut it, and this is you cut PVC pipe with this thing, and see it slices right through here, and this is the best way to cut it if you're going to cut it. Now be careful with the fittings. If you start putting your fitting together and you have this crease in there, this is bad. That means you got the wrong setup because it's going to fail. And this was a failure, and some people were seriously hurt. Now, the number one thing that I found when I found splices that have failed. Now, if a splice is made properly, you can't pull it apart. You can stretch the hose down to the size of your finger and you can't pull that fitting apart. But what has happened is that when I go out and I talk to people in the field, I go, hey, so, you had a splice fail. I said, what happened there? And I said, well, they said, well, I don't understand what happened. I made the splice and everything. And I'll tell them, I'll say, well, what happened was, instead of asking them, I'll say, what did you use to mark your hose with? Did you use a felt tip pen, or did you use a marker to mark your hose with? And they'll look at me like the gentleman who had his leg broken. He said, I didn't mark anything. And see, that's where we go bad, because if you don't mark the hose, which would be 1 3/4 inches, that's a mark. If you just want to get a ruler and mark it, 1 3/4 inches is where your mark needs to be. Because 1 3/4 inches, when you put it together, that's going to come right up to the line. So you can still see the line right there. So after you put this in the mender, you got two of you on there jacking that thing together. If you don't have a arc on here, you can't tell how much hose is in here. It could be just a little bit of hose in there, and you won't know the difference until it comes apart. And all the failures that I've been associated with, that I've interviewed people with, is because they didn't mark the hose. Okay, so if you're going to make your own splice, you got to mark the hose. Okay, here's a gentleman here. He's marking the hose. He just kind of stuck it up there beside it, but I can live with that. I mean, that's better than nothing. Or you can slide it on and mark it, or you can measure it and mark it. Okay? As long as you mark it before you put it together. And this is what it'll look like if you do it proper. See, you can see the cord all the way through here. So this is a good splice. This splice was made properly. Don't use this machine. Scratch this machine. If you got this machine, call me. Or your boss won't buy you a new one, call me. Have them call me. I'll explain to them why you should not use this machine. It's very dangerous. It's very hard to use. Don't do this either. One of the dealers sent me this picture. They had a guy come in with some hose that needed to be repaired, and this is what they were using on it. He cut this off there. He said, no, you can't do that. So training and certification. So we always recommend that if you're going to make your own hose, you're going to do your own hose splicing, set up a certification program so that everybody who's certified carries a card. And only those who are carrying a card are allowed to make splices, because it's a dangerous thing. If you don't make it right, someone could die from it. Okay, and we have a program at our website. We have our 102 program, and one of our modules is sewer hose training. How to take care of your sewer hose, how to splice it, the whole 9 yards is all on there with testing. Now, hose protection. So if we protect our hose, we're probably not going to tear it up. Now, here's the 3 things you need to carry in your truck. You need to carry a tiger tail, a top hole roller, and a manhole protection ring. These are usually lacking. We usually don't have these on the trucks, but these are very important. Let's take a look at that. And the other thing is, on your tiger tail, when you're securing it, man, you always tie those ropes all around there. And this is what I found works really good. It's called a carabiner clip. and they just put their rope around it and slide it in the notch, and it was perfect. It never moved. Instead of trying to tie all that stuff up, it works great. Now you need a top hole roller. Now top hole rollers are dangerous because when you're pulling back with all that pressure, sometimes they'll pop up. You put the manhole lid on it. I've seen the manhole lid go flying. I've seen people hit it in the face with the end of these things and crack the bones in their face. This is what I want you to get. Get the one with the sliding wedge on it. So you can slide it, see it locks right underneath the rim there, and it locks under the rim here. And you can't pull it out. You'll destroy it before you pull it out. I've seen them pull the tops of manholes off, tall manholes, with this thing before it would actually come loose. It wasn't going to come loose. So that's the safest thing to use. Now this is in the manual. If you see it, stop it. Failure to repair or replace hose after exposing the white braid reinforcement layer can cause death, personal injury, or property damage. This is right in the manual. This is from the hose manufacturer. So if you nick your hose, they want you to replace it. And because this is what's going to happen to you, especially with that 2500. The 2500 is not very tough hose at all. Okay. Now this, would you replace this? Yeah, this is not good because, and this is not good. See all the confetti down there? This is because it was rubbing against the top of the manhole. And this is where the manhole protector would have came in, that round orange disc. If you had that setting on top of the manhole, it would not be rubbing against the top up here. Now this right here is where it came out of the manhole and they weren't using tiger tail. See those little chop marks, chop, 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 chop? It was cutting itself as it popped out of the hole. I can look at a hose and tell you how it was cut. Here we go, running over the rim, shredding all this off. Now you want all this plastic on there because you got a lot of pressure inside that hose. So you want this hose to be as thick as you can. Here we go, here's another one. Now no manhole protector. If you had the ring there, this wouldn't have happened. It'd have pushed it off the edge. Look at all that confetti coming off there. You don't want that, okay? And then sometimes you can get a rock lodged inside of your tiger tail, and as you pull it through, so if you start seeing scarring on your hose and you don't know why, stop and pull up your tiger tail. You could have a big rock lodged in there, okay? Now this guy's got his hand on this hose. This is 2,500 PSI hose. You got your hand on there, and how much force do you have inside this hose? 1.2 million pounds of force. That's how much you got. And this is what it'll look like if it explodes and you got your hand wrapped around it. Okay, it's a bad picture, sorry. Bam! That's what it looks like. That's high pressure water entering the human body. Now, I see a lot of you out there. I'll go out and do training, field training, and you got that hose just rubbing up against your belly. You're like, yeah, I got that hose, man. I'm level 1, that hose, I got it up against my belly. If that hose explodes while it's up against your belly, you got 1.2 million pounds of force. And if the hole is on the side by your belly, it's going to be a really bad day. You may not survive that blast. Here's a guy with hit in the face. When the hose blew, the explosion went that way, but the hose slapped him upside the head. This guy here, the hose hit him in the head. His hose exploded. He was looking down the manhole with his light. He told me, this is the story. So I was looking down the manhole, the hose exploded, hit me in the head, and broke my legs. Well, the rest of the story was, when it hit him so hard it knocked him out into the traffic, and he rolled underneath the trailer of an 18-wheeler, and it broke both of his legs. And it messed up his face pretty good, too. Okay? Now, this is why I want you to use this the 3000. The 2500 is a single braid. The 3000 has 2 braids of hose on there. See the reinforcement here? So you got 2 of them. So even if you tear the outer cover, the secondary reinforcement keeps the primary reinforcement in place. This one don't. Once you cut this orange hose, the cover of this, you've got nothing to keep this in place because the inner tube inside of here, where the water runs through, is only good for about 40, 50 PSI by itself, and then it would explode. So that's just a carrier of the water. All the reinforcement is in that white fabric. This was a contractor who I went out to do training with, and I said, we're not using this truck with this hose on here. I said, how long have you been running like this? He said, I've been doing this for a year. I've had this truck for a year. I've never put new hose on it. It looked like this when I got it. And I said, well, we're not going to operate it like that. He said, well, I could probably get another year out of this hose. And I was like, whoa, man, that's amazing. And then that's when I was sold on the 3000 PSI hose. Okay, he didn't have no problem running this. And when we pulled all that hose off, it didn't have any splices in it. Had never been spliced. So what I want you to do is I want you to get your remote controller on these new trucks. They all have them. Okay, get everything set up. Start running your hose in and out. Get Get your remote controller and back up a little bit. Keep a little bit of distance between you and that hose. Look down in the hose with your handy dandy light. Don't be clean without a light. You need to see what's going on. You look down in there, then you kind of stand back up. You got your controller beep, 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 in and out, in and out. And these controllers run all the different functions that you need. That keeps you away from that high pressure hose. And if you're an old guy like me and you don't know how to use that damn controller, can't figure out all them buttons, give it to your helper, because he's probably 22 and he's got one of those Xboxes. He'll show you how to use that thing. And last but not least, I wanted to talk about hose reductions, all the damage that they're causing. I'm going to save that for another class. And this is what it looks like when you reduce this hose down with a brass nozzle and it gets away from you. That's what it looks like. Guy got hit in the head. I got this video last week when I was up in Colorado. Cracked the guy in the head, cracked his head open. Okay? Nobody could get around the truck to shut it off. I think they let it go, they ran out of water. Okay? So I'm sorry that was quick and fast, but I only have 30 minutes with you and I stopped just on time. Because if I don't stop on time, I get in trouble. Now, here's all my information. If you want to take a picture of this, you can take a picture. You can call me. That's my personal cell number. You can call me on it. Here's all my other information. Oh, yeah, the QRC code. The one people who like the QRC code, you can get that camera over that and boop, and it'll take you right to our website. And or you can look me up at Guru, #Guru of Poo Poo. So that's all I got for you. Sorry it was quick, but I only have 30 minutes. So remember, this is going to be posted online so you can have access to it and you can share it with your friends, because what I want to do is I want to keep y'all safe while you're out there.